Good morning, vlog. This is Jeff. We are here in Manhattan. This is the finance capital of the world. So if you want to make money, you got to be near money. So we're going to have a jam-packed next couple of days. I'm going to take you behind the scenes. First, we're visiting my tech CEO, a content creator who's gotten pretty viral for making funny venture capital startup content. And then we're going to jump on a chopper, head to the Hamptons, do a nice little meet and greet with my partner, Jake Paul. And of course, we got to swing by Ramp, sit down with Eric Glyman, my billionaire tech founder friend. So really jam-packed episode. I'm gonna take you behind everywhere, and it should be a lot of fun. Let's get after it.
Jeff is like the plug.
This guy's a genius.
Gotta actually eat L's along the way.
I can be helpful, let me know.
Business.
Jeffrey's mic'd up.
Good to see you in person.
How you doing? By the way, I love how you were documenting everything. It's good. It's actually really smart. You're just even the moment you meet me, you're like, let's record that.
Yeah.
It's smart. I like it.
You're a fellow content creator, right?
Definitely.
I guess I've seen how some of the best do it, right? Once you're in content creating mode, it's tape everything.
Totally.
If you just have the team that's set up, might as well just capture everything.
You also build up momentum, especially with my videos. If I shoot 2 videos back to back, I'm deep in the character.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with so many more content ideas as opposed to if I have to turn it on every day for a specific time. If you build off the momentum of I've shot 2 videos already, I want to shoot a third one, you're getting so much more done. And so
yeah, what is your workflow? To me, it's basically I choose about 1 weekend or 1 week a month where I try to have the most interesting, most entertaining meetings and sets, have Devin come along and just stack as much as possible.
Okay,
because
cool.
For me, being a content creator is just a hobby. It's just for fun. So I'm curious, I feel you kind of exploded on the scene, I would say in the last year.
Yeah.
And to me, you are more interesting than so many young VC associates in terms of your ability to get meetings, entertain people, get some message out, right?
Definitely.
I think when you're talking about the proverbial Harvard Stanford kid, they might have an Ivy League nice degree, but do they actually get the people going?
Totally.
And I think a lot of startups is about, of course, having the capital, but getting attention. That's increasingly important.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you play this game, because obviously you're self-aware about the character.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's a master plan in terms of not just doing this for fun.
I'll give you the rundown of how I think about it and how I'll tell you a bit about my story and then how I have come to where I am today and why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Because I think the character that I've built on social media, a lot of people will see that, but they don't understand the strategy behind it.
Yeah.
So my background is actually, I was a founder, started a couple of different startups, a few got VC funding, went down that route of trying to build something pre-seed. I felt like I was a decent founder, but I wasn't great. And I've always been surrounded by founders that are super, super good. And then eventually I started working with a company called Speechify. And
Yes.
I was working with Cliff.
Yes.
And they had a big recruiting problem. And so I started learning recruiting and understanding everything about recruiting. Eventually built out my own recruiting agency, worked with a handful of AI Web3 startups on recruiting, scaled this agency. But then it was really focused on the recruiting side. I think at this point I'm about 21 years old. Everything is going great. I make a decent amount of money, but I feel I haven't been great. And then I start content. I started content with my brother. We first started this account called The European Kid, where we just started experimenting with different styles of content, and we landed this French European kid.
I didn't realize that you had a twin. I thought it was you had multiple personas, which
Yeah.
probably interchange, but
It would be pretty impressive if I could maintain the European Kid and also my tech CEO. I think a lot of people do think that.
Yeah.
A lot of people were you're the European Kid and the my tech CEO. But the truth is I have a identical twin brother who is a duplicate of me that is creating content as well. Our videos, what made them so successful was a style of content.
Yeah.
We identified a style of content that captures an audience differently than any other thing you could put out. Our style of content, to be specific, is filming in, have you seen The Office, right? Filming that realistic looking style from a faraway angle where it looks like someone is filming you discreetly without you knowing. And so the moment someone's scrolling on Instagram and comes across that content where they're owning to themselves, is this French rich kid, is he being serious? Because it's filmed in a way where it looks like it could be someone else before filming it. And I think that's what caught people's attention much more than any other content we could have put out about the character. And we just doubled down.
Interesting. So it seemed like paparazzi and candid.
Yeah.
And it's this brat is running around shit talking club bouncers.
And we're capturing it.
Yeah.
As opposed to me being in front of a camera and being a brat.
Right.
Because it's there's that element of, is this real? And so that's why you'll see in the comments a lot of the comments now, less so because I think people understand the character. But in the past, it was like, is this guy for real? In that case, it also like meant that this was picked up by other people, like bigger influencers, also media channels. There's like a story I tell everyone. My brother did that video in front of a club in New York. I think he got like 40 million views on Instagram. It was like one of the most viral videos he did. In that video, he says a line like, do you know who you're messing with? The richest family in Europe.
You don't know who you're messing with. The richest family in Europe. Do you realize my dad is?
This video started trending in France because there was French publications coming out asking the question of like, is this another son of Bernard Arnault, the richest person in France, in Europe? Literally, there was like tons of articles about this. Then I think Le Monde came out with an article about how it's like, no, it's not. It's actually this TikToker. And I don't know if he like found out Bernard Arnault and like paid someone to like cover that up. But it's crazy how like you can pick up a phone, you can find a style of content that does really well. You can shoot anything in a moment and you can literally make the front headlines of France and have people questioning if there's another son or Bernard Arnault.
Yeah, and I think part of this generation of social media is that I think everyone is so used to the performative aspect of being in front of a camera and off of a camera, because I think there's always an element of cringe when you're trying too hard, right? Like you have cameras, you're like performing, doing a selfie, and I think that like having something that just seems spontaneous is interesting, right? There's like an effortlessness or spreadsheet of just being nonchalantly like performing, which I think is interesting. And I think it's also access to elite tier culture, billionaires, tech billionaires, or just like old school like fashion house billionaires. Before social media, people weren't just out there like, oh, this is what a yacht looks like, this is what, whatever a 7-star hotel looks like.
Sure.
And now everyone is vicariously living it through their phone. And I think that's part of what I want to do with my vlog, right? Like we get to have cool meetings, sit down with people like yourself, work with billionaires, work with celebrities, work with some of the smartest people in the world. It's like, okay, cool. Like everyone wants to see what happens in those rooms.
Definitely.
And give access to it. It's entertaining at the very least, and hopefully aspirational or educational.
And at least what I'm doing, the way I think about it is, well, there's two things. One is I've very carefully crafted an audience in tech. Because one, I've been in tech, but also two, like the people that I want to meet are in tech.
Yeah.
And I know that if I create content for someone that I want to meet down the line, whether that's someone working in big tech, whether that's a VC, whether that's a super smart founder, I want to create content that they're likely to have seen, which allows me to start a conversation with them. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I've been so focused in tech. And I also love tech. I think it's such an interesting industry. And I think obviously we're living in a world where tech is a huge part of what's happening.
I mean, it worked to get us to link up, right?
Exactly.
Like I saw your comment, like, oh, this kid is hilarious. Like, what the fuck is this?
Exactly. It started the conversation. Yeah. And more so and that goes back to your point of that, like, there's a lot of routes I could take to get to where I am today to try to meet the people I meet. Like, I feel like content is one route that people aren't exploring enough.
Yeah.
And like leveraging the fact that you have an algorithm that allows you to reach millions of people that could potentially be people you want to do business with. My network of founders is really good because I always go to them with a proposition of, hey, I'm a founder, so I know your world, but I also know the content world.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of interesting insights to give you, and then they have interesting insights about business and about product that they provide me. So there's a really good value exchange, and it's still very much in its early stages. Like it's not.
Yeah. How long have you been like? Is it like
basically a year? Yeah. Basically a year. Like I've been posting like fairly consistently for about a year.
Okay, we basically started our content journey about the same time. So
Yeah.
we started vlogging
Nice.
for about just under a year. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I started, and like honestly, it's been like part time. Like I haven't even done this thing. I haven't even done it full time because I have a lot of other things I'm working on the sides as well. But one of the things I'm really excited about for the My Tech CEO account, and also talking about the strategy, is a lot of the sponsorships that I get right now, AWS, also like some AI tools, they're mostly focused on targeting founders and business owners. And a lot of founders follow my stuff. So I'm thinking especially like targeting companies that are more founder focused, more business owner focused. Yeah. That B2B market is really hard to tap into.
I have a B2B company called Archive. We do social listening for consumer brands, right? And the ACVs are high, right? Mm-hmm. So like, meaning average, the contracts for B2Bs are 10, 100K.
Yeah.
Right? So like instead of selling like a cup of coffee for $5, like I'm trying to sell like 100K things. If you actually have a proper SaaS business, it's 90% margin. So like, okay, $90,000 like gross profit coming through. If you're a company, you're like, I'm down to pay 10, 20, 30, 50, like basically up to some like minimum threshold of margin.
Yeah.
You get one incremental AWS customer.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, I don't know, you're paying like $1 million a year on just compute.
Yeah,
Like, easy.
AWS is expensive, like
Right? Like,
yeah.
so like if my tech CEO drove one incremental startup customer
Yeah.
and that startup actually ends up doing well, like you gave them a multi-million-dollar contract,
True.
right? And,
True.
and you think about like, why does AWS give away like six-figure credits to all these startups? Well, it's like, well, one, it's like super low margin for them. They just have these they have these clusters anyways, and then two, you actually hit. I mean, you're paying tens, hundreds of millions of dollars a year to these guys. Like, you can't rip out your software infrastructure. All right, we're on our way to the helipad to meet with Woodie Hilliard, my partner, co-founder of W. We are changing the game of personal body care. You'll see this all over Walmart, retailers nationwide, everywhere. Of course, we're gonna bring along Jason. See you in the Hamptons. Let's go. I hear there's a party next door, so I'm assuming all the smart people are on this side of the neighborhood. Obviously, Jake is a disruptor in sports and content, but I think the capital markets and the way new companies can be done can also be disrupted. So we come from very different backgrounds, right? I studied computer science at Stanford. This guy was on a Disney Channel TV show. I don't want to like blow smoke up a business partner's butt, but I think the work ethic, the intelligence, it's just the raw ambition of Jake out eclipses a lot of like the well-known tech billionaires that I see and came up with. Very excited to scale this platform, build additional businesses, and I think it's really first fund and first investment platform, first brands of many to come. Appreciate all you guys coming out. We'll leave it to Jake to wrap us up here.
Yeah, no, I think we just live in a world where like everyone's on their phones, and that's the most powerful thing now, especially for the next generation. Our screen time is going up, and it's like who controls the screen time, and it's really about merging entertainment with business and working with the biggest platforms, Netflix, all this stuff. And it started years ago with a dream and a vision, and just very, very ambitious and don't want anyone to ever beat us or work harder than us, and going into old markets and where people don't know what they're doing, and it's 60-year-olds in charge of the marketing department and just shitting on them. Like, seriously, go to Axe or Old Spice's TikTok account, like you'll start laughing. And it's not rocket science, but we just have the attention of the youth, Gen Z, and know what we're doing on the business side, and we execute and don't wait for anyone to tell us yes or no. We just make shit happen, and it's been going great. So appreciate y'all for coming here today.
In the vein of blowing smoke up business partners' asses, I mean, I would say that we have probably 77 venture line items at our little firm, and we don't get information as detailed and as often as we do from Jeffrey. So thanks.
Thank you. Good morning, good morning. We are back in Manhattan. Hamptons is great. We're gonna go visit my buddy, Eric Glyman, founder, CEO of Ramp. This will be a fun sit down and conversation. Let's see the office tour. Vlog 2.0.
Oh my God.
New office. I've got W Gift. I mean, this is like, I think the 5th company that's a customer of yours that I put together. I think I'm literally a 5-time continuous customer.
I hope it keeps getting better every year.
Of course. No, I tell the story that literally we had one of the companies had a credit limit issue.
Yeah.
Saturday, text Eric and Kareem. It's like within like 30 minutes handled. I'm like, okay, this is like, I can never switch. Like, it's impossible to compete with this. Congrats on this crazy, sick office.
Do you
I feel
wanna
like,
see it?
yeah. Wow. This is your spot on the floor, huh?
Exactly. All kinds of weird stuff in here. Somebody tried to win our business, supposed to be in Korean.
Hey, if you remember them, it kind of works.
It kind of works.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Microsoft used to be here and you took it over?
Yeah.
So that means Ramp will be bigger than Microsoft.
One
Take it to the bank.
Working on it. So we're more than 1% of corporate and small business card spend in America.
That's huge. Because that, I mean, the total market size is what, like trillion?
Yeah, it's like several $1 trillion.
So making it on the market share map is crazy hard, especially for a company that's like literally about 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably by volume one of the top 10 in the U.S. of like all, including like things that have been around for like hundreds of years.
Yeah. I feel like whenever I introduce people to Ramp, everyone just loves the product.
Yeah.
So it's not even a hard sell.
Yeah.
It's just like the software, the integrations,
Yeah.
the experience, to your point, like banks have been around for hundreds of years, don't understand digital, don't understand the computing. Like the interfaces are terrible.
Time is money, and
Yeah.
like you're gonna make every business owner like use 2 apps to buy one thing. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
Tap your card, or expense report does itself. I don't know why banks never built it, but it's just like a lot easier of a product, way more intuitive.
Yeah, 100%. This is very proprietary. You see this?
Yeah, you got it.
This
You
is
gotta put it
Ramp's
in.
software infrastructure you can hack into. There's a cat that protects all the security.
Don't post that.
I already hear so many friends who just see like all the advertising, the brand awarenesses, like you're sponsoring golfers and like in different athletics. So I just imagine that like in just a couple of years, people will like recognize Ramp and just be like, what is, like, I want to go visit it and like not even know it's like business software essentially.
It's the funny thing about being in New York. Like, there's definitely like a feel.
Yeah.
There's like a character that's in it. I think so many brands coming out of the Valley, good tech companies, it's like kind of soulless. Very little personality. You don't get out in the world very much. Like, it's different. Like, it is like a technical product that automates accounting in a space you think before, but like, you got to make it fun.
Yeah, no, I would say that Ramp is just like a celebrity startup. I imagine that as the founder CEO, I'm sure you're getting recognized. Like people being like, oh, are you like the Ramp guy? Is that happening now?
Yeah, it's happening a lot more. I mean, to tell you the truth, I mean, in San Francisco, like everybody knows because and that's that people follow, and it's like it's its own weird culture. So like, I walk around more than 10 minutes, like
people are like, awesome.
Yeah. It's which is good. People pull out their car. New York is cool though. It's like, I think it's part of why like so many people love living here. It's like you could be the top whatever of your industry, but just another person. But it's like a couple times a month versus like every day.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the perfect level of awareness.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are really friendly, you're getting a little like love, but it's not so crazy for like, oh shit, I need security like 24/7. I think when I was younger, people think I look like Harold and Kumar Harold, so I would get recognized, and now it's like people actually recognize me for me now. Yeah, and just like, oh,
I mean,
cool.
you've blown up. Like, it's like for real.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably for sure more people know you, like generally, like it's good.
And it's just like, wow, like people will reference the content and like, oh, I saw that vlog. I mean, we came up together building startups, man. It's just like weird that my friends are like industry titans. Isn't that just weird? Because like I still remember we're just like in SF, like doing Y Combinator apps and
I mean, you're a big part of the reason we even got there. You were like, I don't know, one of the few people we knew who like actually went through Y Combinator at the time. Kareem and I, we were working on the startup for months, and we had like 50 users for a consumer app, which is like, it's not going to cut it, not even by like, it was a mess. And so at the time, putting in 100 hours a week for an app with like 50 people using it, we were worried about launching it. I remember Kareem went and visited you, and he came back, and he was like a change dude. And he's like, I saw Jeff, and I was explaining what was going on with Paribus. And I think you said something to the effect of like, all right, so you have this app where I can connect my email, you find purchases I made accurately, and within about a week on average, like half the people save money. And he was like, yeah, launch this thing. Listen, it was like the obvious advice, it's like hard to believe and it sounds silly, but like, I don't know, most people are worried with startups. You launch this and people are going to steal your idea.
I remember. Like you guys were, I mean, you guys were like coming out of Harvard, like prestigious job. I feel like there's always that pressure, like, hey, it's got to be like perfect.
Yeah.
And I think we've all learned that it's never going to be perfect.
It's never perfect.
Ramp's still going. Like you're still evolving as a leader, CEO. Like we all are.
I think actually the way you can compete is like something goes wrong, like learn a lot faster, you get back to people quicker. Like, I mean, kind of in your story too, of like you had a decision on a Saturday, you text and it's done within an hour. Like it is unimaginable that American Express would ever do that.
No,
it would never. It's not going to happen. But if you're a startup, you can shock people on like great customer experience, on actually taking that into account and fixing your product much faster. And like that's the edge. And like that was kind of the breakthrough, I think. Yeah,
it's like wild now. Now it's like some of my best friends are like literally celebrity entrepreneurs now. They're like, okay, great. I'm glad I get pulled up by people like Eric.
You pulled us up first, man.
I think something that I want to just like share to the world, because I think we worked pretty hard, got lucky, we were pretty smart. But at the end of the day, we're still just trying our best, adding value to others and not really quitting. I mean, I'm curious, like, just how do you like break that down for, I'm sure, like kids, coming up, or college students are asking you for advice?
People kind of know the saying of like, people really overestimate what you can get done in 6 months, but totally underestimate what you can get done in 10 years. 10 years is kind of a concept that most people can't really grok, right? It just seems so far and foreign, but if you just put in hard work every day for years on end, 1% growth, 2% growth each day, it just compounds. I think even with Ramp, we kept growing at a consistent rate for a long period of time. And I think
a decade ago, even from today, I was an analyst and went and moved to Brooklyn, and all we had was what we had saved up over a couple of years, and we had a 4-month views until we ran out of money. What can I say? I mean, I don't know. I think reading from great books, learning from people you admire, try to model that, and just take it day by day. Both of us started at Y Combinator, and I think that it has all this prestige now, which it didn't at the time.
No.
It's almost like this finishing school or Ivy League of entrepreneurship, which is a strange and bizarre thing.
Yeah, I feel like now people want to buy that stamp.
Yeah, there's a lot of people buying and seeking the brand, which wasn't what it was. And I don't know. I think some people ask what happens when you're in this accelerator, and it's like,
Part of the Illuminati now.
It's become this crazy. I mean, it was a bunch of misfits at the time, but what did you learn when you were there? And if you just actually tell people what you did, it's almost hilarious. You would go, and once a week, maybe the Grahams would make chili or whatever at dinner.
Yeah, was Paul still making chili? You're 2012, right?
I think it's 2015.
Okay.
2015. Okay. You would meet with the partners, and you remember this. They would ask you the same 3 questions, and it would be a 10 to 15 minute meeting. They would ask, how quickly did you grow this week? What's your biggest problem? And how are you going to solve it? That's it. And you would just spend the next 10 minutes saying, I grew 10% this week. I hit my goal. I missed my goal, whatever it was. The biggest problem that is actually important, not a theoretical one, but is actually preventing me from growing 10% the next week is this. And here's what I'm going to do. It's not rocket science. It's really simple. You don't need to solve the problems of 10 years from now. You don't need to ask how I'm going to build this massive company. It's just how, little by little, how I'm going to get there. And that's it. I find it's often that same philosophy that athletes that won the Super Bowl are able to get there. They didn't show up to practice saying, I've got to train today to win the Super Bowl. That's insane. Practice sprinting, lifted weights, ate well, took care of themselves. Showed up to practice and practice the fundamentals, focus on the inputs, the things that were close, that were in their control, and over time you get a little better and you work your way up.
Yeah.
I think just 10-year runs I don't know. I mean, people can do great things with time.
Yeah. I feel very lucky to just actually have seen literally the founding grind from day -100. I remember you're talking with Kareem about after Paribus selling it to Capital One, you're already thinking about the next thing. To your point, I think it's just 5 years of daily obsession over, can we grow this week? Can we grow this week?
You believe in us and supported us before basically anybody did. It was back when it was your weird friend's credit card company, and the value prop is some nice people you kind of know, some cash back, maybe they'll save you money, and that was it. You took a lot of risk, and I think sometimes too, people sometimes get lost in this overnight success, and it was inevitable. When you supported, invested originally in Ramp, we had lots of competitors. Amex had been around.
It was not consensus obvious to me or to anyone really. It was just oh man. Yeah. You guys are competing in a competitive market.
In every article, when we first came out, when we even got them, was kind of looks like X, Y, and Z, or maybe it's some derivative thing. And, PE worked for, a bunch of time, and then people are like, oh, are you some knockoff thing? And it was I think that you investing and being there and both financially, but supporting and saying I will put my business on it, I'm going to invest my time and give you the feedback. Dude, of course. Later on when the good stuff came, you kind of know your true friends are, and there's no question. If you want to invest again, and we were thrilled to have you. Yeah. It was incredible.
All right, so that's the vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast in New York for the last couple of days. If you want to see the full long-form podcast conversation with both Eric and Jason, go to my channel and find those long-form podcasts. As always, appreciate your support, appreciate the comments, keep them coming, and please like and subscribe. See you guys soon.